So, this verse, one of those direct verses in Bhagavatam, which explains how the Supreme Lord is personal. A person having a form, a person having his wishes. Like it is said here, the Lord was pleased. Because he was pleased, he came in front of Kardama Muni. If the Lord is not pleased, he will not come. It doesn't go by any need-based or a order-based request or a demand-based request. Lord is not subject to any of our demands. No matter how much our demands we keep, no matter how much our hartals we do, no matter how much our protest we do in this material world, we cannot get the Supreme Lord because he will not come if he does not want to come. In the material world, the way to get things is by showing your protest. Somebody protest, you will get it. The harder you do it, the faster you get it. That is somehow the way the material world functions. But spiritual world doesn't function in that principle. Just because you demand, you cannot get it. We can demand, but demand has to be after acquiring quality, after acquiring the deserved qualities, qualification. It's very important that qualification is a must to get the Lord, to see the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj tried very angrily, how I'll show my brother, now I'll show my father who is greater. His beginning was like that, but he was very fortunate that he saw on the way spiritual master Narada Madhav, who channelized his determination in a little different way. Determination is a must. Without determination, you cannot get anything. Forget the Supreme Lord. Only with determination one can get the Supreme Lord. But that determination has to be channelized in a route which is favorable for Krishna consciousness. If the determination is channelized in a very negative way, the sense of demand, in the sense of arrogance, in the sense of anger, then you don't get to see the Supreme Lord. Whether to see the Supreme Lord, whether to attain the Supreme Lord, or to attain the consciousness of the Supreme Lord, it's the same thing. Madgataha. You can reach my state of consciousness. Or you can reach my planet. Or you can reach my presence. All this. So to reach the presence of Supreme Consciousness, our consciousness has to be channelized. Today our consciousness is materially channelized. It goes by the demands of Jada Sharira. Jada Sharira made of earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence. The Sharira, the actual Sharira is covered by this Jada. Because it is Jada, Jada actually has no demands. Jada has no life. Dead body. Right? Living body and dead body. Prabhupada always see Krishna consciousness starts from this. Understanding the difference between dead body and living body. Why is it so? Because to realize that this dead body was directing me all along my life. I was going by the demands of this dead body. This dead body. And the body was making me run left and right and center. See any beautiful things to eat, my body makes me run towards that. See any beautiful form, my body makes me run towards that. So our consciousness today is driven by dead matter. Our consciousness has to be driven by spiritual subject matter to actually get the presence of the Lord. Not by the dictates of the dead body. So as long as we are dictated by the dead Sharira, we don't get the presence of the Lord. Bodily requirements are there, but by satisfying the bodily dictates, we cannot see the presence of the Lord. Nor can we go by the dictates of the mind. Mind is sanchala. Every minute, mind. Sometimes the mind wants to see the Lord. Sometimes the mind does not want to see the Lord. Sometimes the mind is angry at the Lord. Sometimes the mind is very submissive to the Lord. It is like a monkey. It keeps on changing. Like today, I'll say, I want to dedicate my life to Prabhupada. Tomorrow, something happens. No, I want to go home. That is mind. Mind has no direction. It goes by its own feeling. Then it has to be controlled by the intelligence. And then that intelligence has to be trained. Like Narada trained the intelligence of Dhruva. Hold on. There is a way how to be the Lord. Be submissive, chant this mantra. Prahlad, he got trained, his intelligence got trained within the womb of his mother. Not like Dhruva. Even before birth, his intelligence got trained. When he was born, his intelligence already had even enough faculty to control the mind. For us, how do we train our mind? Words of Prabhupada. That is why the Shastras say the Lord can be understood only through Shabda Brahman. Again, as it's mentioned here, the form of the Lord which can be understood only through Shabda Brahman. The Shabda Brahman voice other than our own voice. When we are determined to see the Lord, it is our voice. My anger, my passion to capture that person called as God. It doesn't work. To capture that person, we have to hear another Shabda. And that Shabda has to be Brahman, has to be transcendental. Unless we receive transcendental sound, apaurishaya. Prabhupada explains, Bhagavad Gita is apaurishaya. So until and unless we hear apaurishaya Shabda, you cannot catch apaurishaya person. The Lord's form is not like our form. His form is totally different. It is spiritual form. You cannot go and catch him. You catch him, it will be air. You may see the Lord's form. If he does not want you to catch him, your hand will just go through. If he does not give the eyes for us to see, our eyes will just go through his form. We won't even see. As today, the Lord is present everywhere. The Lord is present in the hearts of all the people sitting there. What do I see? Do I see the Lord? We cannot see, even though the Lord is present. Today the Lord is present right here. But I can hear the Lord through the sound which is coming out of this heart. So a graspable form is available. That is only Shabda. The Vedas are saying that you cannot capture the Lord. You cannot catch him through your senses. It's impossible to catch him through the senses. But one sense which makes sound, through that sense you can capture the Lord. What is that sense? Jihva. So Jihva though, through Jihva you can catch him. And by Shravana. So the senses of making sound and the sense which can capture sound, you can capture him. Because that sound is apaurishaya. That sound is Brahman. So the Lord's form as described or as understood only through Shabda Brahman. So no matter what we do in this material world, we cannot capture, we cannot see the Lord. It's impossible. But that does not mean that the Lord does not exist. Lord is existing. We cannot capture it because he is beyond Jada Sharira. He is beyond this material. Prabhupada says we need to have a better understanding of this material world to understand the Lord. Mayavadis say, Lord, the material world, it does not exist. Easily jump and say, material world does not exist. Only Brahman exists. And the formless Brahman exists. But that is not the personalist understanding. Is personalist understanding is that the Lord as a person is existing, is that I cannot capture him because his form is beyond material form. Until and unless we understand what is material form, we cannot understand him. So the way to understand a form which is beyond materialism is to have this transcendental eyes. And this transcendental eyes is not possible until we go through Brahma Vidya. That is why the material world, Vedas, as soon as a person is a boy of 5 years old, he starts listening to Vedas. The sound itself is Brahman. He may not understand the meaning. Gradually understands the meaning. So, from this material world which is all around us, we need to extract this Lord who's there. Now, how do I extract him? Scientists will go through the external way of remove, go inside. Now they've gone enough inside and now they got stuck. Okay? Atom, beyond atom. Somewhere they got stuck. Now they're seeing something which is beyond there. So there's a limitation where you can go, to what end you can go. So the extraction process should not be a manipulative, what you call dissected way of understanding the Lord. Lord is there, remove, and go and see. Just like you say, Lord is there. Between me and the Lord, there are 10 layers. Remove different layers. That way you cannot understand. The Lord should be extracted from this world. Like, many examples are given. Bhagavatam also gives example. Other than that, Vedas give example of how do you extract the essence of cow. What is the essence of cow? Final essence. Beyond that also. Ghee. The ghee, sritha, that is the final essence of cow. But to get that essence, get the cow, get some kicks from the cow, somehow try to bind the cow, try to milk it. No milk is coming. For that, you have to feed the cow nicely. For feeding the cow, you need to expend your money, get different things, feed it, make her happy, do some brushings, then try to milk the cow. Milk comes, convert the milk with acid. A lot of time goes in all these things. And then you have to churn it, you have to agitate it. After all this agitation, you will get butter. Then you clarify it by heat. Then you get the smelling essence. One drop changes your entire plate of food. Right? One drop of food. That is the essence. So to get that essence, you need to do all this churning process, starting from growing grass, getting a cow, feeding it, taking care of it. Same way, we need to churn this whole Vedas and take that ghee. Not very easy. Bhagavatam also says the process of Agni. Right? The verse says, what is the best form of Agni? Fire. Smoke is also Agni. Wood is also Agni. So somebody says, take this wood. I'm asking for fire. He's giving a wood. Fire is there in the wood. But that wood is of no use to me. I cannot get fire from that. Somebody gives me smoke. Take smoke. That's a fire. But that form of fire is of no use to me. I need real fire. When I have real fire, I can cook food. The same way, how fire is there in wood, but you need to extract that fire from the wood. Smoke is also not good enough. So when you extract the fire from the wood, you can use that fire for cooking food, or you can use that fire for doing sacrifices, because the Lord eats two ways. Other than, of course, the offering we do in the altar here, the Lord himself comes and sits and eats. Other way, there are two ways of satisfying the Lord. One is Swaha, through Agni. Other one is Brahmana. So these two ways, Lord says, I eat through two mouths. One is through Agni, one is through mouth of the Brahmanas. So you feed the Lord. So Agni is useful. Agni is better than smoke. Of course, smoke is better than wood, but wood and smoke does not give you the essence. It comes in fire. So how we could extract fire from wood? It is there. Same way, the Lord is present everywhere. We need to extract Him. We need to make Him pratishtha Him in front of us. He has to appear in front of us. So that process is Sabda Brahman. Only through the process of Brahman, Sabda Brahman, one can understand or see the Lord. So the Lord's form which has come in front of Kardama, it's not easy to understand. As soon as we understand the Lord, then life is successful. As Prabhupada says in Gita, Krishna says in Gita, as soon as you control your mind, Paramatma is achieved. But for doing that, one has to churn the body with all the processes of yoga, jnana, tapas, bhakti. There are different processes how we can capture this Lord. But the easiest process to capture the Lord is through, we may say chanting, but that is also finally Shabda Brahman. Chanting and hearing process is also Shabda Brahman. You may start from the Vedas, but we are starting directly from the Supreme Lord, name of the Lord. Because we cannot, like here Prabhupada says, one important thing you should know, the Lord appeared for Kardama Muni because it was in Satyuga, where you have 10,000 years to sit and meditate, where you have the purity of the mind to think of the Lord constantly, where there is purity of consciousness to concentrate and please Him. Even though you are not 100% pure, through the processes of yoga, you can make Him appear. Of course, provided the Lord is pleased. God has a different purpose, so He is pleased to appear in front of Kardama. You can also do through yoga, like Kardama has done through yoga. You can also do that through jnana. But all these processes are not practical in this age. So the process of the age is to go to the core of the Lord. What is most pleasing to the Lord? Veda is also pleasing to the Lord. Sankhya is also pleasing to the Lord. Dhyana is also pleasing to the Lord. Dhana is also pleasing to the Lord. All these different ways you can acquire the Lord. But the most pleasing for the Lord is when He is called. When He is called lovingly, then He is most pleasing. Just like you're also called. You're called by the government through a notice. Appear in 21 days with all the proof that you have not evaded tax. You have to go and appear in front of the government. Somebody is calling you, but that kind of calling is not very pleasing. It is like a man, come before me. Your boss can also call you. Every time you come and sit in your chair, boss calls, go to his room. Again come and sit down, boss again calls. That is also calling, but not a very pleasing way of calling. Mother and father calls. Pleasing in the beginning, then irritation later on. The beginning when you're small, the mother calls for food. Later on, mother calls, bring this, buy this. Then other things, we feel irritated. Lover calls, सब कुछ छोड़ के भागेंगे. Love is there. Same way, Kamsa is calling the Lord. Hiranyakasha is calling the Lord. But a devotee's call of the Lord is loving. So the most easiest way to capture Him or attain His attention, call for His presence, is a loving call. So that is where Nama comes. In Kali Yuga, the most powerful system of calling the Lord, not through Vedas. Morning evening can chant Vedas, the Lord is hearing, but not powerfully. But when a person says, Hare Krishna, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, just like the call of a child, helpless child is calling the mother for help. That form of call of the Lord is immediately attracted. So, Kali Yuga, being so bad has this great advantage, as we have heard in the Shastra. The advantage of attaining the attention of the Lord immediately to the most effective attention. If you're crying unnecessarily, the mother doesn't come to you. Mother knows he will cry for some time, then he'll sleep off. But if he is in danger, that kind of a cry, the mother understands. What is needed is that kind of a cry to call the Lord. If you call the Lord in that kind of an emergency, then the Lord appears. But chanting the Vedas, doing the rituals, doing yoga, doing dhyana, all these things are different ways of calling the Lord. Calling the Lord means getting the attention of the Lord. The fastest way, most powerful way of getting the attention of the Lord is through calling the name of the Lord lovingly. Kamsa is also saying Krishna, but there is no love there. When the gopis and the gopas are thinking and calling Krishna, there is love in them. So chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, even though very easily doable, if it is not polished with love, what are the things for love? I say that I love you. You are telling me, please give me this. I'll say, yeah, it is there in that cupboard, go and take it. I'm telling you where it is there. But is that love? It is love, but drained out love. But when love is fresh, so you want, get up and then go and stop whatever work you're doing, go and come and give it. That is real love. So even though we are chanting Hare Krishna, if it is not coated with this attentiveness, which is part of love, you become very attentive. Like Prabhupada always gives the example of a paramour. Husband is there in the house, but when the paramour's calls is coming, very, very conscious, very attentive, without showing to the husband, of course. So that attentiveness is needed in the call. Love is needed in the call. So entire concentration goes. So that kind of calling the name of the Lord is what is given in Kali Yuga. So this kind of calling is same as going through the Vedas, going through all the rituals. So we need to understand that in Kali Yuga, all that is shortcutted and given to us, the real shortest way of getting the Lord by this process. But the principle is same. It is only through Shabda. Otherwise, you cannot get the Lord. That is the only way we can capture Him, if at all, if you can capture Him. Because it is said that you cannot understand the Vedas, understand the Lord through Vedas. You cannot understand the Lord through karmas. You cannot understand the Lord through yajna. Everything is necessary. He is saying, no, it's not enough. Not good enough. So the easiest way to capture Him is through this Sabda Brahman, when it is employed in the right way. Then the Lord appears. And that form of the Lord is spiritual. Because we do not understand what is the meaning of spiritual form, we speculate. These all must be stories. There is nothing like a personal form of the Lord, but it is right there. So the Brahmanas, through the process of Vedas, through the process of Vedic life, they take Him out. The Jnanis, through the Shastras, they take Him out and understand. Take Him out means understanding Him and absorbing Him and making our consciousness as pure as His consciousness. And in Kali Yuga, we do that through this process of calling the name of the Lord lovingly. Actually, the word chanting is not really the English translation of japa. Chanting. Actually, it's not just chanting, it's basically calling. We say how many rounds we chanted. Rather, it should be how many times did you call the Lord today? Because it's actually calling the Lord. Basically, a very intimate connection when we do the chanting with love. It's not just chanting some name like parrot is sitting and chanting. Parrot can also chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That is chanting. But when we do chanting, it should be calling rather than just repeating a word. That effect is as good as understanding the Lord. In Kali Yuga, two processes are given for understanding the Lord as the goal or the motto of Gaudiya Vaishnava, which is twofold: Name Ruchi and Jiverdaya. Get taste in chanting the holy name of the Lord, as we said, lovingly calling the Lord. Next is Jiverdaya. Try to understand the suffering of others and give the Nama to others. This is a religion of Kali Yuga. Sankirtana movement. Kalavatat Hari Sankirtana. That is a religion of Kali Yuga. Like in Satyuga, Kardama sitting and meditating. He has the ability to do that meditation. Nobody is around. Nobody is there to disturb. Meditate. Kali Yuga, it's not possible. So the Kali Yuga, the process is develop taste to understand the technique of calling the Lord the right way so that He pleases. He is pleased. Other one is show that you have daya for others and you have to distribute that. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do these two things, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, your life is successful. So the whole Krishna conscious movement as created by Srila Prabhupada, starting from Bhaktivedanta, is based on these two things. You may say, I am not pure, but by chanting, I try to be pure. You will say, I am not pure, so how will I go and give Krishna to others? But the religion is that whatever you know, Prabhupada said, whatever you know, you go and talk. So by this process of cultivating chanting process and giving this to others, by these two activities, we achieve all the perfection which in Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, people were struggling and achieving. That is when Kali Yuga said, it's so simple. So all the demigods, all the great sages wish that they are born in Kali Yuga, so that they can capture this uncapturable Lord. Like we see in many songs we sing, like in Damodara Arati, for example, the song, you see, this Supreme Lord who cannot be caught by great yogis, who cannot be captured by great jnanis, He is crawling. He is crawling in the doorsteps of. So that crawling is happening because of love. Otherwise, He doesn't come. We call Krishna, He doesn't come. So the Lord is there, it's a reality. We are here is a reality, and our bondage is a reality. We need to understand that reality and start slowly getting unbound by this Jada Sharira. So the process of chanting and giving this chanting to others slowly opens up this knot. Hridaya Grantihi. Vidyate Hridaya Grantihi. Chidyate Sarva Samshaya. Kshiyante Chapika. All these three things happens. By this process of Harinam Sankirtan, all our doubts are cleared. All these bondage knots in the heart are loosened. All the karma becomes almost evaporated. And how I am the soul is established. Soul is the Lord of this body is established. And the soul's activity is carried on. What is soul's activity? Nama Bhajan. Nama Seva. And giving this to others. So by these two processes, our bondage is. Now the middle of this comes our difficulties. Requirement of like somebody was saying yesterday, association, living in the association of devotees. Living in the association of devotees. Why it is so important in this process of Krishna consciousness? Because sitting alone, there is no way we can purify. Purification of ourselves can happen only with other jivas. For example, say 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita we take. Krishna says, who is very pleased? Krishna says, the person who is 100% dedicated to me, whole day sitting and thinking of me, only serving me, and who is dear to me, that person is dear to me. Krishna says, if you cannot do that, then you follow the regulative principles of bhakti. If you cannot do that, then you work for me. If you cannot do that, you work for yourself, but give the result to me. If you can't do that, try to do dhyana. If you can't do that, try to cultivate knowledge. Better than these two things are working for me or working and giving up the result to me, by which purification happens. And then he says, a person who is free from envy, a person who is seeing everybody equally, a person who is not a disturbance to anybody else. How do you follow all these things? Unless you are staying in an association. If you are staying alone, whom will you disturb? You are not a disturbance to anybody anyway. But when you are staying together, then the disturbance comes. Because you want something which others won't give you, and others are available and they are asking so many things which you don't want to give. So if you see 12th chapter, Gita, the first 10 verses, first 8 verses are talking about how we can engage in Krishna's devotional service. But then, finally Krishna says, along with all these things, you should do Adveshta Sarva Bhutani. Adveshta Sarva Bhutani means not envious. Maitra Karuna Evacha, friendly, kind. How do you practice all this if you are alone? To practice non-enviousness, to practice friendliness, to practice to be kind to others, we need to be in association. So when you say I am serving the Supreme Lord, Krishna says, if you can engage your mind fully in me, I am yours. But along with that, you have to be Adveshta, you have to be Maitra, you have to be Karuna, Nirmamo, Nirahankaraha. So this whole process, what second half of the 12th chapter Krishna is saying, cannot be achieved unless we are in association of devotee. So, one who is not envious, but who is kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor. How do we think we are a proprietor? When 10 people are there, then one person thinks he is the boss of other 9 people. So how do we give that being proprietor? That can be learned only through association. Right? Equal both in happiness and distress. When you are alone, there is no question of happiness or distress. Nobody is there to distress you. When we are in association of devotees, then there is sometimes happiness, there is sometimes distress. So then we can be equal. Right? Who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me. So these aspects cannot be practiced if you are alone. He for whom no one is put to difficulty. How do we practice this? Not to be difficult to anybody in the ashram. But if you are staying alone, you are never a difficulty to anybody, because nobody is there to go and give trouble to, and nobody is there to trouble you. So when we are in the ashram, then there is this question of how can I be untroublesome to others? That is also possible only through association. And who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. So Krishna is going on telling who is the person who is dear to me. So to become dear to Krishna, one has to be in the association of Vaishnavas. One has to cultivate this chanting and preaching in the association of Vaishnavas. When we do chanting and preaching in the association of Vaishnavas, then only Krishna consciousness really comes into being. Only then we are able to really give up all our anarthas, because our anarthas are very deep rooted. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, you cannot say the anarthas can go. Because only when you chant purely, anarthas can go. But to make our anarthas even come out, the catalyst is when we are in association of devotees, we are forced to be envious. Right? Others get what I don't get. Then I will become envious. When I become envious, I need to work on myself how to give that enviousness. So that is only possible when there is association. When there is comparison happening with devotees. How do we be satisfied? How do I be self-satisfied with whatever happens in this world? I am happy with what service I am doing. It's only possible when we are working with more than 2-3 people. Association. So association is an important factor to bring out all these anarthas which is there in us. Otherwise, these anarthas are deeply settled in our heart. Like a very well settled water, very clean. When you see a person, you will see very clean water. But you shake him up, all the dust which is down comes. Oh, I never thought he is so bad. I mean, we make such expression. Because as long as I'm a still person, I'm a very clean water. As soon as I'm in association of many people and everybody together shakes me up, all the anarthas come. Only in association anarthas can come up. That is why association is important. When anarthas come up, then I see my anarthas. This is how sometimes Bhagavatam explains how Bharat Maharaj got into trouble. Even though he gave up his kingdom, even though he gave up all his things, still, and he went to the forest, still he got stuck to a deer. After all, a deer. That was because nobody was there to say, Hare, hold on, what are you doing? So, in association of devotees only, somebody will call and say, what are you doing? Did you finish chanting? Association is very important. Our anarthas cannot come out. They will not show up. We will never know that we had such an anartha. All these things are possible only when the association. We interact with other living entities. Because finally we have to interact with the Supreme Lord, who is a great person. At the time if the anarthas come, the Lord won't even appear in front of us as long as anarthas are there. These anarthas can go only, has to go before we reach the Lord. So that is why before the Lord, there is the spiritual master. Before the spiritual master, there are the Vaishnavas. Because by associating with the Vaishnavas, we become pure enough to go to the spiritual master. By associating with the spiritual master in his divine Vani, divine form, divine instruction, then we will be purified enough to hear the instruction of the Supreme Lord. Till then, we never get purified to receive the Lord, to see the Lord. So association becomes very important. A devotee who is not dependent on ordinary course of action, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains. To experience all these things, we need association. It will not happen. That is why Prabhupada created this association. This is not possible. That is a Bhaktivedanta also said. Going to Ravan and sitting alone under the tree, he will finally only be thinking of money, women, and possessions. Because there is no opportunity for him to interact with people. So in Kali Yuga, it is so important that we interact with other Vaishnavas for our own good. For our own good. Because we will never know all these things. When we start interacting, eating with people, chanting with people, dancing with people, serving with other people, doing day-to-day courses along with others, then these things come. So to purify ourselves, to get rid of all these things, take and throw out one by one all these things, we need to be in the space. So half the thing is something which we can do. Chanting, we have to do alone. Meditating on Krishna, you do alone. Deity worship also can be done alone. That is not enough. Then there is other things we have to do along with the association of worship. So all these processes are there in Bhakti Yoga so that we can purify ourselves. And we are ready to hear the Shabda Brahman. As the Shabda Brahman says, we become slowly get qualified to see the Supreme. So the process of Vedas, what happened in Satya Yuga, the process in Treta Yuga, the process in Dwapar Yuga, and the process in Kali Yuga are the same, essence-wise. The way it is done may be different. Kardama did yoga and saw the Lord. Others did deity worship, saw the Lord. Kali Yuga, we chant the Lord's name and we give this Lord's name to others in the association of Vaishnavas. That is the way to get the Lord. Because all purification required through the Shastras, what the Shastra recommend, what purification you have to go through Vedas, all is happening in a house of. That is the most important. If one subscribes to the process of living in the temple, chanting, and taking part in preaching the holy name, automatically the same effect what Kardama got, what Dhruva got, what Ambarish got, what Bharat Maharaj got, all these things through this process is equally easily available. So the Lord, who is not capturable, he can be captured through the essence. Shabda. That is the essence. And that is what we are doing. We are not doing anything different. Rather, the process we are following is very, very strong. It's very, and is a right way of doing it. There's no question of we doubting or questioning the process given to us in Kali Yuga by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and by the Acharya. Every process which is given is some way or the other useful in removing the anartha and giving up association with this Jada Sharira and associating with Supreme Lord's consciousness. So, yeah, questions, comments, anybody wants to add?
Hare Krishna Guru. So while chanting, after completion of one round, we turn the beads around and then chant from other side. So what is the significance behind this?
I don't think there is any shastric significance. Vedas are not saying after 108 round you have to turn your mala, then you chant. You don't find any Vedic code for all. These are all established by practicing devotees. These are all established by people who have got the result of pure bhakti. And that is very significant. We may not understand the reasons, what are the things. We can try to understand, we can speculate. We have heard from others what the reasons could be. So I'll ask another question. Why is the first bead big and why is the last bead small? Well, all beads should be same size, no? So these are all the different ways of doing things. So great devotees have decided which is the easiest way to chant. Now we can speculate on why. Starting of chanting is very slow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. We have to concentrate on every word, put effort. Like गाड़ी तो first gear में जा रहा है in the starting. Effort is there, hearing, thinking, properly concentrating. In the end, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. But that and this is the same. One is fast, one is slow. So probably in the beginning you need to have a slow uptake and then you can go smoothly. So you need to always start from the big beats. So we need to do it properly. And then the sentiment is that each beat is a prayer, touching the feet of the Lord. Or even praying to each gopis. So it's 108 gopis are there, and the center big bead is Krishna. So you don't cut across Krishna. So you go around. These are all the practical means given by great devotees who think that if you put this concept, this emotion into your chanting becomes more. You're conscious. Otherwise, you'll be unconscious chanting. Oh, 10 mal ho gaya, pata hi nahi chala. So what chanting is that? Unconscious chanting. Can happen. So to be conscious while you chant, beats are big, beats are small, turn around so you don't cross over the center beat. So you're conscious, right? I'm doing one round is over. Next round is going on. Next round is going on. Sankhya Purvaka is the process Acharya has given us. Count and do it. Means be conscious of what you're doing. So Acharyas have said, think that each bead is like, massaging the feet of Lord Krishna. Other Acharyas have said, each bead is a gopi. You pray to them, you get Krishna. Center bead is Krishna. So you're putting more faith, more consciousness into your whole chanting. Otherwise, why bead at all? So counting is important, being conscious is important, being conscious in the beginning, then you can take it a little smooth. So that's a practical thing. Touching the bead helps in your mind in concentrating. One portion of the mind, brain is thinking of the emotional love for Krishna. Other one is keeping you grounded in your chanting, making you touch and be conscious. Chant on each bead, it is said. Conscious that I'm touching the bead and chanting. Chant on each bead. So this helps in all your right brain, left brain, balancing yourself, making you conscious and consciously chant. So probably all these things adds. There's no one answer. I'm not seeing others. Anybody else has anything to say about this? Why you cannot cross over the central bead? It has become a system. So what system the Acharyas are given? Finally, chanting purely. That is fine. Exit. I don't know maths. Okay. So there are certain things. It will help you.
So you told about calling Lord in love. So when we call Lord in fear, or we are thinking that there is nothing in this material world which will satisfy me, I have to go out of this material world. Is it similar to the calling in love or fear?
Yeah, yes. It is also calling in love because that is calling in surrender. Specifically, it can be called as calling the Lord in being surrendered. But surrender is part of love. There is no love without surrender. Fearful of the material world, crying to the Lord, your predicament, and want to be lifted by the Lord, saved by the Lord. This is also love. If you don't love Him, why will you surrender to Him? You will surrender to a person only to whom you love. Definitely part.
Hare Krishna. When a service is allotted to a devotee, is it given by Guru or the authority?
Let it be given by anybody. As long as you are serving the Lord, Bat Katham. Let us not speculate all these things. This is the reason why we have to be in association, because these questions will not come. If you're alone in the forest, there is nobody to give you service, there's nobody to satisfy, there's nobody to do anything. That is why association is important. So these questions are answered, and we know that these questions are useless. Just serve. Prabhupada has said, it is Krishna who has decided what service you are doing, in what situation, and why He has put you in that situation. So my current situation is situation given by Krishna. In this situation, whatever I am supposed to do, whatever I am told to do, is Krishna's desire. That Prabhupada has very clearly said. Hence, whatever position we are in, and whatever work is compelled out of me in that particular situation, is Krishna. That is so. And Krishna again has told in Gita directly, whatever you do, whatever service you do, whatever austerities you do, whatever troubles you take, whatever dana you do it as an offering unto me. So these questions don't have relevance because we're directly connected to the Lord. And it is more important that how I think about my service. If I think about my service as a burden to myself, and we do it in a cribbing form, again Kapila will come when he talks about Bhakti Yoga in Tamoguna, Bhakti Yoga in Rajoguna, Bhakti Yoga in Sattoguna. So these are all Bhakti Yoga in lower modes. Bhakti Yoga in higher mode is, this is given by Krishna, this is blessed by Prabhupada, This is my situation, and I do it as an offering of my life. That is sattvic. So it is we who speculate, right? So it is said that you speculate as sattvic as possible. And what is sattvic speculation? Hearing the words of Krishna and interpreting in my own way. Krishna said, do it as an offering to me. No problem. Very difficult service. Do it as an offering. I may succeed, I may not succeed. Because nowhere you see Krishna saying that you must succeed in the work you do. Have you heard anywhere? Krishna is saying that do it as an offering to me. And don't be bothered about the result. Which also means don't be bothered who gave you the service, to whom you are doing it. The service is there, do it lovingly. But the right consciousness is that a devotee is doing everything as a service to help the spiritual master. So whatever we do, we are helping the spiritual master. So we should take it as, above that we should take it as it's given by Krishna. Because why am I sitting in this space of 3 by 3? Why am I sitting here? It happened to come on me. I took it up. Do whatever I can. Yes. This is how devotees can be, like in this word we read. Krishna says, free from cares, free from unnecessary disturbances and speculations. Simple. Straightforward. It's better.
As practicing devotees, we always seek advanced devotees associate. You see in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Pundrika Vidyanidhi, his external behavior was not according to the understanding of Gadadhar. So how do we understand when we also are in association of more advanced devotees than us?
We are neither Gadadhar Pandit nor are we in the association of Pundarik Vidyan. So why are we thinking about it?
In practicing devotees, how do we feel?
What is there to see?
Because we tend to judge.
Stop judging. We already know judging is bad. Stop judging. First stage is to see Krishna in others. When we become qualified to see Krishna in others, keeping aside all the impurities in others, is the first stage. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam mai pashyati. You should learn how to see me in everybody and everything in me. That is the first stage. So that helps to keep away the disturbing aspect of a person and seeing the Lord in him and him as a Vaishnava, him as a person who has dedicated his life. Krishna says, you see somebody else as same to you. I am a spirit soul, he is a spirit soul. So each of the devotees whom we are working with us have done the same sacrifice, more or less different forms as I have done. Hence he is worthy of respect. And the Supreme Lord is in the heart of everybody. Hence he is worthy of respect. And the good qualities or the bad qualities I see in each of them is not his. It is part of the material world. Same as this, like Bharat Maharaj says, don't think that you are lean, I am fat, I am thin, I am your king, I am a Sudra, I am a carrier. I am also a mass of flesh and bone, you are also a mass of flesh and bone. By karma, you are sitting up there, by karma, I am carrying you. It can reverse also. So these are all part of the material world, subject to the karmas and the cycle of birth and death and all the material things. But beyond all this material thing is the Supreme Lord and we as a servant of the Supreme Lord. So it forces us, again, an advantage of being in association of devotees, it forces us to keep aside the bad and see the good. Finally, to see the Supreme Lord. Finally, to pay obeisances to everybody. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, anybody who chant Hare Krishna once is also a devotee. Are we ready to pay obeisance to everybody who is chanting Hare? Do we have that much conviction that I am so fallen? All these things slowly, slowly we have to develop which yuga and which birth we will do all this thing. God knows, but start karo. Start karo. Start seeing others. We start respecting. Start seeing everything as Krishna's situation, not my choice. We have to stop this judging system. Why am I here? We have to stop judging everything, and we have to stop looking for justice. Everybody wants justice. Stop looking for justice. A devotee doesn't look for justice because he thinks everything is just because it is given by the Lord. The Lord can never go wrong. If the Lord has put me in this situation, so there is a justice behind it. If somebody is every day coming and, an aggressor is coming and disturbing you, you have to take it up. Some action has been taken. But in the normal course of the day, what good, bad happens to me, what good qualities I see in others, what bad qualities, I need to filter it in my mind. I filter it through the eyes of Sastra. Or do Sastra. This is another example why we need to be in the association group. Because all these things we cannot do when we are alone. And that is why people who are alone cannot advance as much as people who are in the association. And the more trouble you are in association of Vaishnavas, you are fortunate. You are fortunate. Why? Because more and more anarthas are going away. Every day I am doing a mistake. And every day I am getting chastised. Good. Because anarthas are going away. So are we in a consciousness to accept that? So these are all what is required of a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Because the quantum of humility required to see the Lord is extreme. Unless we reach that state of humility, there's no question of the Lord coming into our. There's no question of chanting Hare purely. Like Krishna Unless we follow, be humbler than the blade of grass, tolerant than the tree, renounce respect and give respect to others, unless we come that state, these are favorable for chanting Hari now. So we need to be very intelligent in our daily association with devotees, daily doing seva. All these things should be considered only as a means to achieve a pure state of chanting. They should not be considered as a very important thing. I got prasadam, I didn't get prasadam, I got half prasadam, I got less prasadam, my bag is small, his bag is big, my vehicle is small, his vehicle is big, my room is small, his room is big. I can do this, he cannot do this, he can do this, I cannot do this. All these calculations which our mind brings in are all immaterial. You look at what state of humility we need to reach to get Krishna. So we miss the goal. When you are in association of devotees, it's easy to remind. You don't like to be in front of people at all. Statement is nothing but selfishness, sense gratification. Because he is thinking he is the body. Because he is thinking he is all the limitations. I don't want to show my limitation to others. This is all because of I think that I am what I am. The Sastras are saying you are not what this limitation is. This is just your karmic effect in this life. You are beyond all these things. All these social imbalances we have in our mind, all these things will go when we do devotional service in the midst of devotees. And not only one set of devotee. One devotee is higher to me, many devotees are equal to me, many devotees poor qualification wise or seniority wise or experience wise. Experience wise, some are more, some are low, equal, some are not connected, some are newcomers. In the midst of all these people, I had to do Cheto Darpana. That is why association. Without association, we cannot get the purification required to chant Hare Krishna. We always say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very and Hare Krishna. But he also gave the 10 offenses to be avoided. Is it easy? Not at all easy. Processes may think is easy, but to do that process in the right way is not very easy. Okay. Hare Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada.